Good evening. We're going to give it a minute here, see how many people join up. This is going to be our first podcast. Well, I guess it just logged in there to Facebook. Good evening, everybody. This is our first podcast with a candidate. Here, see how many people join up. So we're going to give it a minute here, let people log in, and then we'll get started. This is Donna Ross. She's actually running for Alderman position 4. We'll get into the positions in a little bit too, kind of give you some insight on that as well. Let my phone catch up. It's get the live video up here. My phone is always slow to catch up. You're online. You're seeing. You can be able to see comments too.
Yes.
All righty. We're going to go ahead and get started here. As I said, this is Donna Ross. She's running for candidate. She's running for position for alderman. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Donna.
Well, I was born and raised here in Lexington. Middle class family. Certainly wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Dad drove a truck cross country most of his life, and Mom worked at Brown Shoe Company pretty much till they closed the door. And so I was educated here in our city school systems. Brent and I, we've been married probably, it'll be 36 years in December.
Wow, congratulations.
Long
It's
time.
a long time.
I don't know how you put up with me that long, James. Lexington was where we chose to put our roots down. It's where we chose to raise our child. I have owned a small business here. I've served as a chamber director here. And about 26 years ago, I served on the Board of Aldermen for the city of Lexington. So,
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a while ago.
That's right. Last 25 years I have been in lending, and the last 15 of those I have worked at First Bank.
All righty. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to jump into the questions that's been broached before this podcast. And
Okay.
if anybody else has got ones, I guess they'll bring them in. Like I
Okay.
said, my phone is slow catching up. I don't know why that is, but it is what it is. But you're able to see it, so that's a good thing.
I am.
I'm just making sure it doesn't have it down here somewhere that I'm missing it. And it just hasn't called up for some reason. All righty. First question. I've got actually 4 questions, but Vivian Keene has actually posted on the questionnaire post we had.
Mm-hmm.
The first question she's got, and let me preface this by saying, in the city, there are no primary elections. Based on there not being a primary election, candidates do not have to disclose their political parties.
Correct.
So that's where her first question is, and I'm kind of paraphrasing what she was asking here, which political party policies do you align with?
I tend to align with more so of an independent, I think. I'm not swayed by a party line one way or the other. I'm going to vote my heart and what I feel like is right. And so that's what I do.
I kind of agree with you there. That's party lines. There's pros and cons on both sides. But anyway, there's the first question. I hope you're paying attention, but Vivian, to get you answers here. Second question: how are you going to decide what is the best choice when given options for cutting budget? So I'm assuming what she's asking is there line items that you may need to cut. How are you going to determine which is the best course of action, or what line items you would look at?
Well, I believe that we have to have a plan for our city. A 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year long strategic plan for this city. And our spending must be in line with those plans, okay? So if we're spending too much money on brand new equipment, maybe we need to look at that. If we are looking at personnel cost, do we need to look at that? I'll have to sit down with a budget and go through that budget when we get a strategic plan in place that says this doesn't work. This doesn't fit our plan. If we don't have a plan, it's just like your personal finances.
Yeah.
If you don't have a plan, your money gets gone and you don't know where it went.
No, you don't. Alrighty. Um, this next question, it's kind of, both of them I kind of think going together. I'll read them both at the same time.
Okay.
Will you go to the public first before making cuts, and will you be more transparent than your predecessors? And what steps will you take to be transparent? Yeah, I think going to the public first before making any cuts really falls into the line of being transparent. So the question is will you be more transparent than your predecessors, and what steps will you take to be more transparent?
Absolutely. Under the way that this is working right now, they may get financial statements and they may not get financial statements. And we have to know where that money is going, because it's not the city's money, it's our money. It's the taxpayers' money.
Amen. Amen.
And so we have to look at this from a standpoint of, are we spending that money wisely? Are we spending it in the way that the people want the money spent? The people need their voice heard in how this money is being spent. The transparency is pretty easy. We can make those budgets public. It's their money. I believe if you're going to represent people, you have to talk to people. So if I'm fortunate enough to be elected to that position, it won't be a one and done. It won't be a campaign season. There will be forums where people will have an opportunity to sit down and talk with me.
Good. And let me touch into that there, because I saw a question was asked today, and I believe you answered the question. A gentleman was asking about what are the positions. People there, and I've been getting a lot of comments about this today. A lot of people have stepped up. I've actually had other candidates, citizens who don't understand what the positions are. And honestly, I'm just going to say it, they're BS. Really, we don't have, we used to have elections based on wards or districts. We call them wards here, but it's a district. So a candidate would come out of that district, and that's who they represented. That got done away with, and from what I understand, it was supposed to go to an at-large election. And the true at-large election is, if we have right now 3 alderman positions, and there's 10 candidates that run, the top 3 vote getters get it. You're not running against each other. You're running for one of the 3 positions, and I think that's has confused people somewhat. But pretty much every position, every single alderman, you can vote for that person. Every single position, you can vote for them. You pick one in that position, and that's the candidate you're voting for. And every one of the position, every candidate in each position will be your representative. So it's not where Donna may be in a certain area, and she doesn't just represent those, she represents citywide.
That's accurate. Used to, when we had the ward system, you had wards that were all over the city. And when that was done away with, those wards were then turned into positions. So you've got positions 1 through 7. And in this race, there's multiple candidates.
Right.
And so they will choose in this position 4, one of those 4. And whoever wins in that of those 4 will be that person that represents position 4.
Right.
And it'll be the same with the other 2.
And I think, like I said again, confusion I was hearing today is, well, it doesn't matter where you live in the city. It doesn't matter if you're east, north, west, south. You're running for that position. You're not running to represent an area. You're running to represent the whole city.
The whole city for that position. That's right.
That's it. All right. Next question we got here. There's been talk about wasteful spending regarding government vehicles to include unnecessary wear and tear and fuel costs. What do you think can be done or needs to be done about all of these city employees that get vehicles to drive home every night? Many seen at businesses after hours and weekends. Now, this is an anonymous
post.
Yes.
Okay, so I've been out in the community talking to people, and I hear in this order, these property taxes, vehicles, overtime, streets. That's what I hear.
Okay.
So it's not just the anonymous poster that's noticing that. I notice it. I see it. I think every citizen in our community notices it. And the questions there that have to be asked are, what is the, is this an essential vehicle? Is this a person that's on call? Is this vehicle being taken home? Because the expense to the taxpayer, because it's our vehicle again.
It's all ours.
It's not their vehicle, it's our vehicle. And so, again, it goes back to how much miles are on that vehicle? How many miles is it driven annually? What's the purpose of it? Is it an essential vehicle? Is it something that if we've got somebody that is on emergency call, we want them in that vehicle because we want them there as quickly as possible. What's the maintenance schedule on that vehicle? Most importantly, if it's an essential vehicle, what's the plan 7 years or 10 years down the road when it's at the end of its life? It don't last forever.
No.
And so I think there has to be, every person I've spoke with, this has been brought up. Every person I've spoke with. And so I believe that we have to have an accounting of those vehicles. I believe we have to know what their use is, how many of them are being taken home, because we're also supplying the gas for every mile that it's driven.
That's true.
And so, to me, that is responsible governance. You've got to know where the money's going.
I agree. I could not agree more. That's I've caught some slack over that personally for voicing my concern over it. But I get it. If somebody's on call, yeah, I understand. Take it out there. But I will say this here, and I probably bucked the system a little bit here. I'm not opposed to the police officers taking vehicles home. I don't have a problem if they want to stop at Walmart and shop because that's a police vehicle is out there, and it acts as a deterrent. Now, a public utilities truck sitting out in a parking lot in Walmart, that's not a deterrent for anything. That's one of these things where people kind of sit there and say, that's my money parked out here at Walmart. And I get it. I can see there's a balance in there somewhere.
There is a balance.
Next anonymous question here is, every year there are requests for new vehicles. Some of the vehicles being purchased have higher end packages instead of being work grade. Do you feel there's a waste of taxpayer money? And if so, how would you address it in the future?
I heard that we had some vehicles that were really souped up packages, air conditioned seats and like really high end stuff. 26 years ago when I served on the board, we had utility workers in utility trucks. And, again, what is the purpose of that vehicle? Is that a necessary requirement? And if it is not, that is fat.
Got to trim it.
Got to take the knife to the fat.
All righty. We're in agreement on that one. Next one here, like I said, the rest of these here are actually coming in, will all be anonymous. Alderman Rhodes questioned the department head about a paper he had in June of 2024. In the middle of the budget discussions, the department head said they had plenty of money, but the correspondence between the department head and the state proved otherwise. And I can clarify that a little bit more for you. Back during the last budget cycle, in last year's budget cycle, the board was told that they had a lot of money.
That's right.
And then we kind of came around earlier this year in spring, and we get a letter from a new state agency regarding utilities, a utility board, I can't remember the exact name of the board itself
That's right
now, that said that we were net negative. And to go on with the question here, yet they still requested raises, saying it was all great when it was not. Alderman Rhodes questioned department head at least 3 to 4 times, but the department head deflected the question and never answered the question. Do you feel the department head should be reprimanded for providing false information and for failing to answer questions that Alderman Rhodes posed?
Okay, that's a two-part question.
Yep.
Okay, so and it's got a two-angle answer. When I watched that board meeting, and I heard Alderman Rhodes say, "Why were we told that we had this, and now we're being told we've got a different thing?" the told was the red flag to me, because that became obvious to me that our aldermen are not receiving financial statements. And I asked them after that meeting, more than one, are you getting financial statements? We'll get them for a couple of months and then we don't see them for a while. Okay, so James, can you balance your business's checkbook every 6 months?
Yes, I can.
Well, you're an abnormally, because most people, if they look at their checkbook once every 6 months, they're gonna have spent too much and they're probably gonna be overdrawn.
But now, and let me, I guess, I may have misunderstood that question. Yeah, I balance mine daily.
You balance it all the time.
Yeah, constantly.
And so to me, one of the key responsibilities of the people that we are electing is balancing the people's checkbook. And so if they are not receiving financial statements on a monthly basis, how can they do that?
It's a good question.
And so it's kind of it's a two-way street there, you know. We seem to have a little bit of a flip where the board is, sometimes they're in control and sometimes they're not in control.
I agree with that.
And so these are questions that, you know, the aldermen have to be reviewing those financial statements, and had they been reviewing those financial statements, had they been provided, they would have known what was in there. We wouldn't be being relied on being told.
Very good point. Very good point. All righty. Next question here. This year, the employees got another raise. In over a 4-year period, the cumulative percentage of those is 23%. Do you know of any other type of industry that gets those types of raises?
No, I do not.
All righty. Well, that's a very simple answer. All righty. The next question here. Let me go back into this here because I kind of lost where I was at with that there.
There's a question in mine that says, would she support independent audits of the city's finances? We have an independent audit of the city's finances now.
Every year.
Every year.
And
Every
that's,
year.
And, you know, I know I've heard the term a forensic audit, and that gets more in depth and detail.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to what the auditor put out a couple of years ago. They brought a team in. If I remember correctly, Godwin's out of Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
They brought a team in because apparently about half of the general fund budget was not where it should be. Whether it was lack of placement for it, you know, because you have to look at things a little bit different here when you're dealing with, because the city doesn't have one bank account. They've got multiple bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, certain things have to be earmarked a certain way, especially when you're dealing with federal grants, and I'm sure the state grants are the same way.
And
You have to
sales
have-
tax, it's restricted.
Yeah, it's always, yeah, and then you have to reconcile all of that there.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I think where they got in there. I know we kept hearing about the $16 million, but there was no theft of $16 million.
No.
That's not the case at all.
No,
It just was not appropriated where it should have been,
it just wasn't in the right
places.
GL column. There you go.
Exactly. Alrighty. Okay. I'm going to lead into this one here because it's a little bit more. I'm tired of local government waste and have been against the raises until the budget can perpetually prove the raises and spending won't hurt the taxpayers down the line. My question is, what should be done with Justin Roach and Cody Wood showing a budget surplus of $1 million and actually being negative $2 million? That goes back to the question about Tim again. I don't know if you want to go any further on that there.
Well, there has to be, okay, so if you look at our city agenda right now, and the mayor makes the agenda,
Right?
so you've got roll call, you've got pledge of allegiance, number one, approval of the past month's board meeting.
Yep.
Okay?
The minutes. Yep.
Number two should be approval of the current financials. That's how you stop that issue. That's how you solve that issue.
Bring the financials right up there into the meeting. That's a good idea.
That's how we
Oh,
did
and
it
that
years
gives you-
ago.
And that gives you transparency.
That's exactly right.
Good reply. Um, um, why are percentage raises being promoted and used when it truly only benefits the top earning positions and the guys at the bottom don't? It's an unfair comparison. I don't
It's
want
an
to use the
unfair
term as they
comparison.
have in here, but
I think, if we go back and we look at all that's transpired over the last several years, we started out with a salary survey. The salary survey wasn't in comparison with the cities of our size. We've, there's some industries that give percentage raises. I've talked to industry leaders. There's some of them that give percentage across the board raises. I personally am a person that, in the work that I have done in my life, and I've worked since I was 14, I've always gotten more money when I worked harder.
right.
That's
right.
just the way my life has been.
Merit
And I
based.
think that's the way most people's lives have been. And so there are questions that have to be, we can't go back to what, we can't go back and undo what has
Right.
been done.
Right.
It's done. We've got to start today and go a different direction.
Agreed. Got to shift gears some.
Got to change gears.
All righty. What are your thoughts on all of the pay raises in the recent years?
If we had plenty of money and we weren't tapping our taxpayers and there was excess there and those raises were justified, then certainly we have to compensate our employees. But let me tell you, if you'll remember last year when we were talking about this 74-cent property tax, it was an apocalyptic event for our city if we didn't get it. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
Somebody's got to pick up the garbage. Do you remember that comment?
I remember that. There, we got to take care of our people.
Somebody's got to pick up the garbage. I mean, it was an apocalyptic event. And it's true, somebody does have to pick up the garbage. But at the same time that was going on, I'm at Walmart with my buggy. And I turned the corner, lived here my whole life. I know a lot of these folks. Miss Donna, we're not asking for a raise. We've got good benefits. We've got good pay. We're not asking for a raise. We're not going to turn it down if they give it to us.
No.
As you shouldn't. I wouldn't turn it down either.
Wouldn't either.
So that was the red flag that there was more going on than what the public was.
Being told.
That's right.
There goes back to transparency again.
It
And
does.
I went back in because there was a document that floated around talking about why does Lexington need a 74-cent or a 50-cent increase.
Right?
And what the proposed, and the bottom line on this here was the proposed salary increases last year,
Mm-hmm.
when that 74-cent one came in,
Right?
would have been right at $1.6 million in raises. And that's based on 88 full-time and 8 part-time employees. That's the general fund. 1.5 million, 1.6 million, 1.593. I rounded up. Yeah, it's
And how many roads could we pave with $1.6 million?
roughly. I think last we've been told from the county highway superintendent was it's about $125,000 to pave a mile. So you're looking 12 miles. That's a lot of roads in the city.
It's a lot of roads in the
A
city.
lot of roads in the city.
That's right.
And there's a lot of roads that need to be paved in the city.
Yes, they do.
All right. How do you view the city's money management in the last 5 years?
I think there's room for improvement.
We'll leave it at that. Do you see wasteful spending? If so, give some examples. And how would you correct it?
I've not had a deep dive into this budget. I've had the budget, but what I've learned in my work time is that maybe sometimes something that's on paper, it might look outrageous, But then if you sit down and you actually have a conversation with that employee or with that supervisor, they can explain that. And I think that's what is lacking with it's the communication. It is the explanation. So, you know, just a few years back, we had departments that were being run, and the manager was at $60,000 with a vehicle. Now we have numerous departments whose management salaries are double that, multiple people, multiple vehicles. That needs to be, you know, like, I'm not saying they're not doing their jobs,
Right.
and I'm not saying that they're not needed, but these are things that the taxpayers are telling me. These are the things that the people are saying. Why is that happening that way?
You know, and that's, I mean, easy to see. I mean, and you're right. There's substantial jumps in salaries within different department heads, and then department heads adding in assistants. You know, it just
And
when
everybody getting vehicles.
right, and we didn't need it in the past, but now all of a sudden we need it.
Census Bureau says we've grown by 200 people in the last 5 years, so that needs some explanation.
It does. Accountability.
Accountability.
All right. I'll ask this here, and you kind of answered this a while ago, but I'll go ahead and answer it. Why do you think the mayor asked for a 74-cent increase last year, but settled for 17 cents, which is about $1.5 million short, based on the value of a penny? Yet this year he didn't ask for a property tax increase. If we needed it last year, why don't we need it this year?
I can't speak for Mayor Griggs. He will have to answer that question on his own.
Fair enough. And the last question. What is your, well, I'm not going to say this last question. I had a couple more based on some stuff that's been posted today.
Okay.
What is your perception of how local elected officials treat the people they represent?
It is a part of my platform in this campaign. Our elected officials are there to serve the people. The elected officials are not up here and the people down here. That's inverted. The people are up here and the elected officials are here as servants to the people. Our servants, if you've got an issue and it's bothering you to the point that you have to go before a city board, those elected officials should treat you with respect. They should listen to you humbly. They should work hard to try to, reach resolution. Now, is the city going to make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time? Absolutely not. It's impossible to do. But I know from my experience, personal experience, people have to be treated with respect and with dignity and with a servant's heart. It's not that, we all get up, go to work, pay our taxes, try to take care of our family, and they're no different. They've just got alderman in front of their name. And our people have to be treated with respect. And if I'm elected to this position, I will work hard to foster a board that listens humbly to its citizens and responds respectfully to its citizens. We've all seen it.
Oh yeah, yes we have. Some of it more than others, but hey, it is what it is. I've got a question I wanted to ask. Give me just 1 second to
Okay.
pull this here up, because this is actually coming from one of the candidates that's actually running against you, the incumbent, Fred Ellis.
Yes?
And his campaign post here, he's got, we've made progress securing over $27 million for broadband expansion, And I think the broadband expansion is well worth it because that has the potential to be a very good, strong generator of revenue for the city
Absolutely.
down the road.
Down the road, it
But
does.
beyond that, the service that it provides is
It's invaluable to our rural.
exactly,
to our
especially in
rural
today's
communities.
technology.
Absolutely.
We have to be on the forefront there, and we are.
Absolutely.
And you know, and kudos to General Manager Jeff Graves of LES at the time for putting the effort to get this here working.
Well, he
for us.
poured his heart and soul into it to
Yes,
make
he
sure
did.
that it worked, and
He's-
that our rural churches and our rural kids have access to internet.
Yeah, can't pat him on the back enough for that there. But going on a little bit further, and he said 20+ million for upgraded utility infrastructure. And I'm not gonna get into the cemetery bit of it right now because I still don't know exactly where we stand with the cemetery. But 20+ million for upgraded utility structures. Now, securing 27 million and 20+ million, what does it mean to secure millions and millions and millions of dollars like that,
Well, the broadband money was borrowed,
right?
okay?
The loan.
That's right. I mean, we secured it by borrowing it,
Okay.
okay? That's kind of a, you know?
A little bit of a misrepresentation, really.
I'm
to
not
what
gonna
it's-
say he's misrepresenting, but I'm going to say he says we secured it. What we did was we borrowed it.
Right. And I agree.
And we did secure the loan.
Right. Yeah. I
So,
mean, yeah,
we did do that.
Wouldn't be able to borrow it if you couldn't.
That's
Kind of like
correct.
if I wanted to go buy a house from you, I got to put a house up for
We
security.
secured the loan. We did do
Good.
that.
And and I want people to understand one thing here. There is no money tree that the government has. Every penny that the government gets comes from us. And even if they make revenue off of our revenue, off of what they receive from us, it's still ours. It belongs to the people. You got 4 candidates,
I do have 4 candidates.
but 3 challengers. Let me say it that way.
So, Candy Davis, I've only met for a brief amount of time. She seems like a real nice lady. I don't know what her experience is. I don't know what her qualifications are, but she seems like a real nice lady. Jack Johnson, I've known for years. I think most people in our community have known him for years. He's rotated in and out of our city government. I like Jack. Don't have a problem with Jack as a human. I think he's a good guy. But I think that the leadership of this board needs new faces, new ideas, and a new direction moving forward. Now, Mr. Ellis, last year, when we were looking at this 74-cent property tax increase, he was the alderman that floated that 74-cent property tax increase on the floor and got 4 votes to pass it on the first reading. Had the taxpayers not showed up and showed out, we would have had a 74-cent property tax increase, James.
That's unheard of. I mean, if you think about it, that's almost double what our rate would have.
That was the lid on the mason jar. I like Fred. I've known Fred all my life, and I think he's a good person. I do not agree with his voting record, and I do not agree. We see government different. Completely different.
I think you and I are on the same page because I kind of see government different as well. And like I said, you know, I've gone back in and I was looking back before we had the reappraisals. There was a 40-cent tax proposal on the floor, and never went anywhere. I think this is when they went back in and used ARPA funds, hired 11 people. Now, 2 of those people, if I remember correctly, fell under solid waste under public works, which is rates generate that there. Property tax doesn't. But you're adding 9 salaries. And, you know, even at the time, I don't know what the salaries, let's just say they started at 45. By the time you add benefits and everything in there, you're probably sitting 65 per year. And you just created roughly $600,000 in expenses by using money, one-time money from the federal government. Well, there's the start of where our problem line is, where the property tax had to come up.
That's right.
And the following year, we get the reappraisal, and I don't remember, it was roughly 15 cents, I think, is what they raised the the property taxes the first time around?
Uh,
I'd have to go back and look if, I don't know if you've got it.
I've got numbers here, but I don't know
And-
if
and
it's
then-
exact in there on cents. Was it, when was that? Was it
That
2019
would've
was
been
the first
20
one? 2019 was the first property tax raise for the city.
Where's 23?
23 it raised, and we've had 3 property tax increases since the current administration has taken office. One in 2019, one in 2023, and one in 2024.
Okay, what was the 19? That's before my time.
It was this random sampling here. I can't use my calculator because my phone will die on my Facebook. It had been 130 and it went to 144. So what's 130 into
14 cent.
140? Yeah, yeah,
14 cent that time.
that's right.
And then what was 23?
23 was 317. It was big. 22's property tax on this particular property was 156, and then 23 it went to 317.
Hold on a second here. I remember it was 18.74% based off of the equalized rate that the state sent down. And I think that calculated somewhere around about 15 cents. It went from, I believe, the equalized rate was around about 88 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to 104. So that would be 16 cent actually.
That's what this is showing.
Okay, 16 cent.
Yep.
So in
Okay.
2023 we had a 16 cent increase, which again, you know, that money is starting to be used to pick up to pay for salaries
Mm-hmm.
that we brought in, that we created
With one-time money.
with one-time money.
That's right.
And then last year, there was a 17 cent increase. Now, at the time, what was stated in the meeting was 12 cents of that money was going to be going to raises. In the 5 cent that was left over, which 5 cent, I think, somewhere around $27,000 value of a penny.
Right.
So we're just going to say $125,000 if those 5 cent was left over.
Right.
Well, at the budget meeting, when they finally approved it, they got passed through, they did another raise, which was 113,000, is what the salaries got added to it.
It's like Pac-Man.
Right. So
Yeah.
every single cent in the last 2 raises, in the last 2 property tax increases, has gone into salaries.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I agree.
Tell me about your platform.
Well, I have entered this campaign because, number one, we've got to stop this spending. We've got to stop these property taxes. The utility rate hikes, we've not even discussed that.
No, we haven't gotten there yet.
These increases are putting strains on families that I don't think that our current board members understand. I had a single mom call me earlier this week, James, and she did it right. She's went to college. There's not a dad in the house. She's got a good paying job. And she started out strong, you know. She started out strong. But by the end of the call, she was like, she was about to break down on me. And she said, Donna, please do something to help us. And so what I did, I just randomly, I randomly went through neighborhoods in our city. And I picked average priced homes. And this is the increases that we have received over the last 8 years, okay? So in Cardinal Estates, your property taxes have went up about $38 a month, and this is an average price house. Every house is going to be different. You add the 18 cent utilities, the $18 utilities, that's on average. We got the $10, so there's 28 right there in our garbage and our utilities, right? We're agreeing with that. So this same house in Cardinal Estates costs $66 more a month to live in today than it did 8 years ago.
Okay.
Okay.
That's per month.
Per month.
Per month.
If you live on Gema Drive, it's about $64 more a month. It's Pope subdivision.
Okay.
Okay? We go out to West Point, it's about 70, I gotta put my glasses on, I can't see it that far, $73. Eastern Shores, you're at about $90. Derryberry Street, now there was a variance there in property values. One of them was 29, one of them was 43 on Derryberry Street. South Main, you're at about 31. Chase Drive, 48. Airways, 44. This is real money that is coming out of our citizens' pockets every month. Now, what do we think $50 or $60 means to this single mama that called me?
Well,
We got school starting back. That's a lot of school supplies, isn't
yes,
it?
it is.
Anybody can look that up. That is public record. It's TennesseeTrustee.org, and you have to spell out Tennessee. When you open up that website, there'll be a toggle at the top, and you'll have to scroll down to Lexington, City of. A new screen will pop up. Put in your name or put in your street address. When you put your name in, you'll have to put like Ross, Donna, and then it's going to pull up your property. And you'll be able to see for yourself for the last 5 years what's happened. I had to call City Hall and get the tax rate because it only shows 5 years online.
Right.
So I had to get them to go back the 8 years. Once you get the tax rate, it's just numbers,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I would encourage people to go on there and just look for themselves, for their own property.
That's
And
quite a
then
bit of money.
add the $28 for the utilities and the garbage to that.
And actually, you know, I'm going to say that the garbage rates, I can't remember what I think it was $15.50 is what the residential rates went up with the last big garbage increase they had. Here we went up 30 somewhat dollars for business.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Right.
And the sad thing is, there's a reduction in services. That's a problem. There should never be a reduction in services if the rates
If the
have
rates are
increased.
going up.
Right.
That's right.
They should be used to cover any additional revenue, any additional overhead.
Right.
And now, from what I understand, even city residents, if they go out to the transfer station, they still have to pay.
Okay. Well, so here's the whole deal. We have to have a strategic plan for this city, and we have to have aldermen that are disciplined to stick to that plan with the spending. It became so obvious to me at the first reading of this year's city board meeting on the first reading of the budget. They stood up and they said, well, we got $3 or $4 million worth of excess. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, this is fantastic. We're going to be able to put some money back in this rainy day fund. They pulled $1 million plus out of our rainy day fund, okay, to fund this spending. And so I'm thinking, this is fantastic. We're going to be able to put some back. And they talked about it a little bit, and they ended up talking about more COLA increases and other increases. And what shook me was after they had discussed, they called the department heads to the podium with a wish list. They wanted their wish lists. Yeah. And one department, to his credit, said, this is on my schedule for next year. But if we've got it, I'd like to go ahead and get this $100,000 truck. You can't knee-jerk with people's money. You've got to have a plan. It has to be strategic. It has to be focused. It has to be disciplined. And the board has to have that discipline to say, sorry, we can't buy that truck this year. We're going to put $1 million back in our rainy day fund. And I did a FOIA request on that rainy day fund because it's pretty simple. I mean, not simple, but it's new. And so the paper that I got said that we are to take the last 3 city budgets, average those together, and then we're supposed to have 25% of that stuck over here in a rainy day fund for an emergency. Okay? The emergency apparently is left open to interpretation. Overspending is not an emergency. When a tornado hits our water filtration plant,
That's an emergency.
That's an emergency. And so that's what I'm talking about. We see this differently, very differently. If we continue on this path of tax and tax and tax, we're fixing to put our city in a negative growth situation, and when we do that, it's going to get bad. Cities can't sit still. Mayor Gyres taught me this. Cities can't sit still. They've got to grow or they're going backwards. There is no equilibrium. There's no, we're just gonna stay right here.
Can't continue to float.
You have to grow that tax base. And that is not just with property taxes, that's with sales tax revenue, that's with tourism events in your community. Kudos to BRWDA and the Chamber for bringing the boat races back to the lake this year. We had people coming in here from all over. And when they come, they're eating, they're buying gas, they're stopping at the convenience stores. That's money that's coming into us in the form of sales tax that we wouldn't have had.
Right.
And so, the issue is with our housing. If you look anywhere in a city, when was the last time a new subdivision was developed inside the city limits of Lexington?
I don't know, but I know some of the subdivisions haven't been completed.
West Point was the
The
last
last one,
one,
yeah.
and that's been 20 plus years ago, I think. The issue is now, I've been talking to contractors for a decade on this. We've regulated ourselves to a point. They have to have, the street has to be so wide, it has to have curb and gutter. They have to put every bit of water, sewer, gas, electric. Contractor, I said, just run the numbers on it. Tell me what the number is. I want to know what the number is. So he said, okay, if I do the land acquisition, I do the paving, I put in the sidewalks, all the infrastructure, if I build a 1,300 square foot house, I'd have to sell it for $400,000 to $450,000 to break even. That's not even making no money. We're not doing it for fun. He's doing it to make money.
Where are you going to get that type of customer?
Where are you going to get a house that's 1,300 square foot that's going to appraise out for that? It doesn't work. And so if you take a drive down Wildersville Timberlake Road, look at all those big, beautiful homes that have been built in the county.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to comply. We've regulated ourselves out of housing growth. That's what we've done.
Wow.
And so, think about it in a very common sense. We've got, this is our tax base. This is our houses. Our property keep going up. I mean, the costs keep going up. Well, if this is the only base you've got, these folks are going to have to pay more. The way you offset these costs is you grow that base out. Then you got more folks paying. You got more people putting in the till.
But you know, it's like you're saying, you know, we've regulated ourselves too much. And now with these property tax increases that have just continued to grow, that makes us less attractive to anyone moving into the market. I mean, it's, you know, and yeah, the growth can be in the county, but even the county right now is trying to start with more regulations. Well, you know, it's, and we're not seeing the growth in the county neither.
The city started with a building inspector.
It's,
So, the other part of this platform is, and this is so near and dear to my heart, is that we the people need a voice. We need a voice on the board that is speaking and voting we the people. And we have about 3 right now that are doing that.
agreed.
But the 3 are not the majority.
No.
And, you know, we the people has to have representation. We have to have somebody to stand up and speak for we the people. We have to have somebody that votes the will of the people. And we have to have those members of that board, the majority, or we're going to have 2 more years of the same thing we just went through.
We don't need that. We've got we've got some more questions popped up.
Okay.
Do you want to grab a couple more here?
Absolutely, go
Alrighty.
for it.
All right, the first one from Amanda Gyros. Do you support the Lexington cemetery rules?
The Lexington Cemetery has truly confused me, and Fred's post confused me when he announced. I looked on property data today, and I can't see that there's been a change in deeds. It said we secured that. I don't know how they've secured that. I don't know what's going on there. The cemetery has been, a controversy for many, many years. I don't know, I'm not versed enough in it to answer that question.
Okay, and you know, and I can see where you're at, because last time I talked with Ken Walker, who's a neighbor of ours, a couple doors down, this, I don't think it had even, still hadn't been through court systems yet for them to acquire the property.
The property data does not show
Yeah.
that it's been acquired.
So, you know, that's a question. As far as the rules themselves, you know, honestly, after the last meeting when they brought the rules up, I'm pretty confused exactly what the rules are. I don't really know what has changed, because there was citizens there speaking out against it.
Right.
And it's kind of like everything got retracted back, and it's like, I don't know where we ended up, because the documentation we received is not what was eventually voted on in the meeting. Yeah, that's a good question, Amanda. That's something that we'll continue to look into, see if we can find some information and get posted on the page as well. I'm kind of like with Donna. I really don't know where it is. It's just we haven't seen anything updated at this point. So, and I don't think that Aldermen have received a packet that had any updated information. So it's that lack of transparency, because nothing's being shared out there about it. She did have another question. What is your position on animal control kill policy?
That's a tough one. You know how much I love my animal. I have a 13-year-old dog that lives with us. It's our fur kid. It's treated just like a just like a human.
You may want to correct that there. You live with her.
Yeah, I do. I live with her. And this is an issue that has faced, and it's worse in rural communities because of limited funds. I'm not for immediately picking up a dog and putting that dog down. The issue is that our shelters are full. We've got volunteers in our community, folks like with Keg Animal Rescue. We did a fundraiser for them. Our mortgage team did a couple of years ago to help with spay and neuter, but they don't have enough volunteers. It's we had someone contracted, as I understand it, that worked for the city. Now the firemen are in charge of getting the dogs. We have to, the city has a leash law. You're not supposed to have a dog out unless it's on a leash or it's in a pen. And so, and that's a safety issue for children and me too, So it is a very complex issue, and it is a very expensive issue. It is I believe that as a community of volunteers, we can maybe perhaps work around that in some way so that we've got more of a structure of volunteers. But the issue is that we have a handful of volunteers, they get overrun, and then they're just like, I can't do this anymore. Like they're exasperated, they just can't do it anymore. And it is a real issue.
It is, and
it's a costly issue.
It is. What I don't understand why we had a system that was working somewhat in the city. Was it working perfect? No, there's nothing's ever going to work perfect, especially when government's involved. But what we changed for some reason. A lot of these animals were going down to Doc Davis. Nikki down at Doc Davis was getting a lot of these dogs adopted out. Mm-hmm. She really worked in it. It really wasn't her job, but she took it on.
Right.
And
that's the volunteer spirit that I'm talking about.
Yes. And she was there, and she fought every step of the way. And then whatever happened, whatever powers that be came in and switched stuff around in the city. And I think it was back in February, I believe, a letter was sent to Doc Davis from the mayor stating we no longer need your services. And then, we're finding out about the euthanization. I think it was August 1st is when the first post went up. In 10 days, if the dog's not picked up, we're putting them down. Now, I think the community, the citizens got into a backlash in that there, and the fire department has now kind of backed off of that there, and they're trying to really push for adoption. You know, and it's hard to get, when you're killing one of God's creatures out of convenience, and it's hard to get people to switch their position on it and sit there and say, yeah, well, you know, now you've changed up, you know, it's okay, we forgive you, we've moved on. You know, it's, you know, animals, everybody has their own perceptions of them and how they,
That's
how
right.
they grade them.
And you know, at one point there was a volunteer group, and they would pick up. You know, the South traditionally we have more of this.
Yes.
Okay, and so they would. There were other places in the country that didn't have this overpopulation, and they would pick those dogs up and bus them and fly them to different parts of the country. So I think there's other avenues that we can explore with that, but it is a very it's a very expensive issue. It's a heart-tugging issue. I love an animal. You know how I am about an animal. I love an animal. And it does. It tugs at my heart. People are struggling. We're in a hard financial time, and maybe, you know, dogs, maybe they just don't have the money to, you know, we've seen the videos of them pulling up to the vet's office and putting them out and driving off, and thinking maybe in their mind they're doing good for the dog because they're dropping it off at the vet, and they think the vet's going to take care of it, not realizing the vet's overrun too.
Yeah, it's, there has to be some personal accountability here.
There does.
And there has to be some enforcement of whatever laws, rules, and regulations that we have in place. You do have another one there. This is from Penny Doyle, and we're going to be talking about roads in the city and county. I'm going to let you go at that one. Have fun with it.
Well, Penny, years ago when I was on the board, there were schedules. And so you knew this year these city streets got paved, and the next year this set of city streets was going to get paved. There was a schedule, and we stuck to.
We had a plan.
We had a plan.
Hey.
And we stuck to the plan. Okay. The situation that we're facing now is a deferred maintenance all over the city on our streets.
Here's the can.
Yeah, kick it on down the
Yeah.
road. And so many of our 4-lane highways now are becoming 2-lane highways because one of the lanes is just completely impassable. And I understand what she's saying. And this is what, as a citizen, as a taxpayer standing back looking at what's going on. Y'all will remember just a few years ago we went out and spent $1 million on a shredder. You remember that?
Yes, I do. You know that thing caught on fire?
Yeah, I heard it caught on fire. And I heard also that we had to hire somebody to stay with it, so that was another salary. It wasn't just $1 million, and then there was maintenance fees on top of it every year. Okay, so see, my common sense kicks in and says, okay, we went in debt for that $1 million too.
Yeah. That
We didn't pay
We
it.
secured
We secured the
some money for
$1 million. Okay, and so my common sense kicks in and says, would we not have been better off to have taken that $1 million and maybe we don't need to pave an entire mile? I mean, school's starting back. Have you been down to South Broad Street? I know it's a state street, and I know it's a state street.
Let me interject something in there too. North Broad Street, after it was last repaved,
Yes.
the city tore up a section, pretty much right about the Church of Christ, around about the high school, and that would have been a southbound lane on the outside lane. And the city came back after there was enough complaints over the problems with the roads being so bad through there. The city came back and did some paving over top of it.
Right.
So why in the heck can't we put some?
Well, and so municipalities have contracts with TDOT that,
We do not.
well, we should.
Our maintenance agreement, I want you to know, last year, because this was checked into, Blake Mitchell, look into it. He can give you a lot more information on it. But our maintenance agreement has expired, and they have not renewed it. I just want to give you that information. I'm assuming you
Okay,
didn't know
so
about
let
it.
me reverse that. Typically, municipalities have contracts with TDOT. We have to tear up a road for a line, we've got the permission to go back and fix that, okay? So, instead of us spending, my common sense says, instead of us spending $1 million on a shredder, yeah, it'll eat a telephone pole up, that does nothing for the residents of the city. And when I checked into that, they said, and if I'm wrong, and I want a city employee to jump on here, and tell me that I'm wrong, but at the time we bought that $1 million shredder, I think we were the only city in the state that had one. Nobody else had one.
I believe that's correct.
But our 8,000 population city had to have it. Now, those are the things that kind of just, like, they make my face get red. They make my blood pressure get up, because why would we not have taken that $1 million and spent that on something that would benefit our community? And I'm with Penny, People are having to buy tires. They're having to get their vehicles realigned. Their rims are getting messed up. We don't have to. Just because it costs $130,000 to pave a mile. If a half a mile is what's tore up, fix the half a mile.
Hold on a second. You're being logical.
It's common sense.
In government, we don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see Amanda's popped back in there with cats are being euthanized immediately, from my understanding. That's been it's been stated, and when we brought that out, when we asked questions about it, we were told that animal control doesn't pick up cats. So honestly, I don't know if there's any. I can't say it's false, and I can't say it's true, but.
I don't know. There is a program that they use in the Northeast. I know that they bring the cat in, and they've got a contract with a vet, and they spay and neuter the cat, but then they just turn the cat back loose. What it does is it stops the population growing, but you still got a cat
Right.
that's just turned loose.
And I can speak from going back to the contractor we had, Brandon McPeak. Brandon had live traps. We have a cat around here. We don't see her as much as we used to. We call her Mama Cat. She's a bobtail. And she was a baby making machine. Matter of fact, the cat that we, I'm not going to say rescued him, because he more rescued us. He, street cat showed up one day in the middle of winter, and I'm out there like a fool, sitting on the cold concrete with a paper plate of tuna to get him to eat, and to let me pet him. And he finally let me pet him because he was hungry.
Right.
Eventually, he made it in here. That shelf right there was his shelf. I built that for him. Put his bed, and he laid up here, and he had a scratching post. He was a shop cat.
Right.
Great cat. But Brandon was picking up stray cats, and exactly what you were saying. He was getting them
Spay and neuter.
spayed, yeah, fixed, or however you want to call it.
Right.
And then they were returned back into the streets where they were.
Right.
And you're right. Being in the city streets isn't the safest thing for any kind of animal.
No.
And there's a lot of farmers, that we know that actually take cats because they're great on barns.
Well, they love them in their barns.
And keep the rodents
Absolutely.
down.
Absolutely.
It's a
Absolutely.
thing. But yeah, to answer your question there, there's not enough knowledge on it right now to say whether that was true or not.
Right.
The one thing I did check into and ask the question of, when I looked back on the city's website for animal control on their Facebook page, not one cat was ever posted.
It's all dogs.
All dogs. And then going back in and talking with Doc Davis, they never got any cats. So, yeah, we really don't have an answer to that. We do have another question in here, if you're up to it, 'cause we're a little bit over.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Has Donna tried to implement her ideas? I know she had a ton years ago, so I'm sure there's a ton more, and those were great ideas, and truth be told, many of her ideas and answers were used without crediting her.
if you look today at our city board, there's a tug of war going on, okay? You've got 4 people voting yes, and you've got 3 people voting no. And that's on the important stuff. That's on the tax increases, the utility rate hikes, and it's a tug of war. And so, if you go back in time just a little bit, Mayor David Gyres was the first full-time mayor the city of Lexington ever had, okay? And Mayor Gyres had a very progressive board. He entered into the city determined and focused. He was a bulldog on industrial development. At that time, you had a county executive. You didn't have a county mayor. You had a county executive. And Dennis Ray McDaniel was the county executive. His commission was progressive. I was at the chamber at the same time. My chamber board was progressive. And so what happened was you had those 3 folks and everybody pulling the rope the same way.
Right.
We wasn't doing this. And out of that, David brought in AutoZone Distribution Center. Look at the number of jobs and the great benefits that has brought to so many people in our community. We built Jackson State Community College out here out east. I'll never forget the day standing there watching that excavator tear. There was a beer joint that sat there. And I'll never forget that excavator tearing that beer joint down and me thinking, what a great day for our kids and our community. Because there's going to be a college built here. Back then, there was no place at Parsons. If you wanted to go to school, you went to Jackson. Our downtown, as a chamber, we joined in, and this was with support of the city and the county. We joined in with our downtown business owners and activated our downtown association. All those beautiful lamp posts, those sidewalks, that landscaping, those trees. Prior to that, if you had a disability or a handicap, accessing our downtown was next to impossible. But we secured every bit of that with a grant through the state of Tennessee, through the Department of Transportation. We weren't tapping the taxpayer.
Right.
Okay? It was all done. Our lake festival, David was big on tourism. Mayor Gyres wanted those, that's easy money for a city. And so back then, our lake festival was a week-long event. We had a big carnival that was set up there in the grassy area. David Anderson we had a bunch of people that helped with that. David Anderson had barbecue cookers, came in from multiple states. That was a big thing. We saved our money, and we had to end up borrowing about $10,000 from David, from the city, from Mayor Gyres, and we got local industries to pitch in. They helped with the steel, and so Mark Stanfield was the director of that festival. We called it the Freedom Day Lake Festival. It was a whole week thing. And so we saved our pennies, and we got help again from our community, and we built that stage. And the city, we were about $10,000 short. The city made us a loan, and the Lake Festival continued on. We paid the city back in full. Not one tax dollar dime was used to put in it. And look at what a great thing it's been for our community all these years, And so there are so many things that we can do when we work together. And instead of doing this, instead of tug of war, we've got to get back, James, to where everybody's pulling the rope the same way. The city, the county, the volunteers, the community. We've got some of the best people in the whole world that live right here. I'd put them up against anybody, anywhere. And all of the property tax increases, the rate hikes, the lack of transparency, it's created an undercurrent in our community. And sunlight's a great disinfectant.
You know what, though? Boy, it's like pulling teeth trying to get out the to get to the truth of everything.
That's right.
It's such a push to make it well hidden.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and I don't have the luxury of having the history.
Tina is saying something else here.
Uh,
Roads are to pieces from one end of town to another, and Highway 22A is almost so bad you can't drive in it. I believe the state has issued that they're doing 22. Is that not right?
yeah, I believe 20.
Penny,
a
I think
section
they're
of it.
they're doing they're supposed to be coming in and doing a section of that. We're approaching. We're like hour and 10 minutes, so
Yeah.
I want to be sure and say this to the people because this is so important. Um, First off, I want everybody out there to know I'm not accepting any financial contributions to this campaign. Um, Thank you to those that's called and offered, but I'm not accepting any financial contributions to this campaign. This campaign, I am in this campaign for us. This is a people campaign. We have got to get our city back on track. I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, well, she owes me this or she owes me that. This is for us. This is for the people, and it's for our community that we love so much. The last 3 city elections, we've had right at 800 people to show up to vote. Our population's 8,000. We've had 800 people in the last 3 city elections show up to vote. If we want change, we've got to register to vote. We've got to go to the polls. Mr. Ellis, in the last election, won that race with 360 votes. That's what put him in the chair. 360 votes. Yet, those 360 votes gave him the power to impose that 74-cent property tax motion on us. And had it passed, we would have all been impacted. 8,000 people would have been impacted by 360 votes. And so we have to go vote. We have to get registered to vote. There's an app, Go Vote TN. You can download that, or you can go online, govotetn.gov. Real simple, takes about 5 minutes to do. Deadline to register for this election is August the 12th. And it's not just enough that you vote. You got to get your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your Sunday school class, your co-workers, the people you go out to eat with on the weekend. We have to motivate as a community if we want change. If you rent in the city, now obviously you've got to be a U.S. citizen. You can't have a felony conviction. But if you rent in the city, you're eligible to vote. If your primary residence is in the city, you're eligible to vote. The law has changed about those residents that live in the county that maybe have a rental home a rental property inside the city. In the past, it didn't matter as a property rights voter how that home in the city was deeded if you lived in the county. It made you eligible. That law's changed. So if you live in the county and you have a rental house and that's in an S Corp or an LLC, that property is no longer eligible for voting. So please, if you voted in the past and you live in the county with property in the city that you own, as a property rights voter, please check with Robin and Laura at the Election Commission to ensure that your voter status is good. Now, I really believe in social media. I love social media, James. I think it's great. We can spread the message quick and far and wide. But I'm old school, and I don't believe there's anything better than talking to somebody face to face. And so
Nothing gets lost in translation that way.
That's exactly right. And so you're going to see me knocking on your doors, but we're also going to start a listening and lemonade tour. We got a big white canopy. It's got big red banners down the side. It says Ross for Alderman. We've got homemade fresh lemonade inside. We're going to set this up in your neighborhoods. Please stop in. Have a glass of lemonade with me. Let's talk about your concerns for the city. But more than that, let's talk about the growth of our city, the future of our city. I'm so optimistic about Lexington. We live in a little slice of heaven right here. it's just kind of gotten off the track. And we've got to get it back on the track. And together, I believe we can do that. If you would like a yard sign, we finally got the stickers to comply with the law, so the yard signs have started going up. Please give me a call, 431-0373. Email is rossforchange@gmail.com. If you want to gather your neighbors together and get the tent, just holler at me, and we'll do it. We'll have a neighborhood block party. We'll just get everybody together, and we'll talk all at one time. The most important thing in this election, it's not signs, and it's not tents, and it's not lemonade. It's that we have to go to the polls, and we have to vote, and we have to be educated about those that we're voting for. We've got those four yes votes. 3 of those positions, if they continue to vote historically as they have in the past, there's 3 yes votes. So they only need 1 more yes vote. And if that happens, we're going to see 2 more years of the same. Would you not agree with that statement?
I'd agree with you 100%. And that's a scary thing. I see Penny had asked one more question. The main highway that runs all the way through town, north to south, which is Broad Street, or Highway 22, that is a state highway. 412 is a state highway as well. Doesn't it have some federal attachments as well?
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not
the
sure.
state's always taking care of that street.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, 104, where we are, we're right beside the Princess Theater.
Right.
At the stop sign right here in front of the Princess, that's where the state highway stops. And even though we have a Main Street address, this actually belongs to the state. And the simple way to tell that is, during the wintertime when we get snow, snow plow comes up, burns me all to pieces when they do this. They come up, they push, we got these side parking slots. They push the snow against the side parking spots. They go up there through the stop sign, they turn around pretty much in front of Gift Garden, and they head back.
And they head back.
And then they block up all the snow in our parking spots, but
Right.
because we still come to work. But
Right.
anything like that there, any of the highways like that there, there's going to be
They are
it's gonna be
state. And if we don't have that contract with TDOT, then we need to be asking why. We really do.
I was kind of shocked to hear that there.
Thank you, Penny. I appreciate you too.
All right, well, we're wrapping it up with Donna Ross here. If you have questions, continue to put the questions on the post. Donna can see them at any point in time frame, and she can answer those questions. So you don't have to stop your questions right now. You can continue to ask the questions, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to keep an eye on the page and answer questions that you may have across the board.
I appreciate y'all sticking with us. We've ran over a little bit more than an hour, but we thank you so much. Your vote and support is so greatly appreciated. We need every person voting, and every possible vote we can get. With 4 people in this race, these votes are going to split, and so your vote and support is greatly appreciated. If I can help you in any way, 431-0373. Thank you, guys.
And thank you for showing up, Donna. And we will see
Thank
you
you.
guys Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We have Gordon Woodridge, who is running for mayor position. He'll be in here for his podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend.